This is Chris with Front Porch Football, where we take SEC football as serious as you do. Week 4 is in the books, and there were a lot of great games, a lot of programs I want to talk about this week. So let's dive into things, and we'll start with the Bulldogs of Georgia. I actually got a text a couple of days ago by a Front Porch Football subscriber and Georgia fan. And he texted me, he was like, Chris, what's up with you always picking against Georgia? And the only answer I can give is that I'm an idiot. I mean, Georgia has proved week in, week out that they have a great team, not only on the defensive side of the ball, which we all predicted going into the season, but that this offense under true freshman Jake Fromm is doing great things, not only in the run game, but in the pass game. So Georgia definitely looking, I think they're ranked 7th right now in the top 25, the AP top 25. So great start for Georgia this season, looking great on defense and on offense. So that's basically my my answer to you, is that I'm just an idiot. And Georgia fans should be happy that every time I pick against Georgia, they still win. So maybe I'll keep picking against Georgia. Moving on, let's talk about the Florida Gators. We just mentioned them and their big showdown with LSU coming up in a couple weeks. I was talking to a buddy of mine in school, huge Florida Gator fan, and I basically told him it's better to be lucky than good sometimes. The Florida Gators have definitely been lucky these past few weeks. This past week definitely is the case for that. Kentucky, left two critical downs, including the game-winning touchdown. Kentucky failed to even cover a receiver on the Florida Gators. I think the first time was Tyree Cleveland. The second time might have been Tyree Cleveland as well. Not entirely sure about that one, but just a lucky win for Florida, in my opinion, especially that kind of suspect holding call on Kentucky at the end of the game that kicked them out of field goal position. So Florida Gators definitely counting their lucky stars. Could be 0-3 right now. Instead, they're 2-1. I think they'll beat up on Vanderbilt this upcoming weekend in the Swamp. So I think the Gators are going to be 3-1 heading into that LSU game as well. Just found out Luke Del Rio is going to be the starting quarterback for Florida. If you told me in the preseason what I thought of that move, I would have said that's the worst possible selection out of the 4 kind of quarterbacks that were vying for that starting quarterback position. Now I think it's probably the right choice. Offensive line, especially with young center, I think he's a true sophomore. Maybe he's a true sophomore up there at center. He's not making the right reads and right protection calls. And with a true freshman and Felipe Franks at quarterback, you can just see the offense was sluggish, especially in the passing game. And so Luke Del Rio, kind of the seasoned vet, knows a little bit more about pass protections, how to read blitzes, how to read defenses, and the offense did pick up its efficiency later in the second half when he was playing quarterback. So yes, Luke Del Rio, I think, is the right choice for these Florida Gators. All right, moving on to another team in the SEC that I have not talked about that much is the LSU Tigers. This was not an impressive win whatsoever, but they are still 3-1, and I think if things go as scripted this weekend against Troy, then LSU will be 4-1 heading into Gainesville, Florida to take on the Gators. So that's going to be a big game. That's going to be the game that I really kind of base my prediction for the rest of the season for LSU. Both these programs, the loser is going to be facing the reality of a possible 8-win season, in my opinion. So I'm waiting to pass final judgment on the Bayou Bengals until the Florida game in a couple of weeks, which is already slated as the 3:30 primetime SEC CBS game of the week. So waiting for that game before I pass judgment on LSU. 4-1, not as good as 5-0, but certainly not a bad start to head into Gainesville, Florida. And then there's South Carolina. In interest of not having a heart attack during the middle of this video, I'm going to save to pass judgment on the South Carolina team until the Arkansas game, in a lot of ways like LSU, in my opinion. Want to see what they'll do at home against Arkansas, a kind of failing SEC West program. They do travel to A&M this week, going into the A&M game 3-1. I think there is a chance they'll come 4-1 back to Williams-Brice, but even if they're 3-2, I'm going to really pass judgment on the South Carolina team during the Arkansas game and see, kind of make my prediction on what I think the rest of the season will look like. All right, I'm going to now end the video talking about Clemson, and I'm going to say it right up front. It's very unfair for me to talk about Clemson this week after not even mentioning their blowout, very impressive beatdown of Louisville, especially holding their offense to such few yardage and points, containing Lamar Jackson, not even containing him, just kind of beating him around. So very impressive win for Clemson last week. And I said during the preseason preview, this team I think is going to be at worst 11-1 in the regular season. Heck, if they win this weekend, I think, which might actually be their toughest game this year, I think they could go 12-0. I think they're going to make the playoff. I think they have a very strong case or chance of winning another national title. So I'm going to say all of that up front before I say that win against Boston College was an embarrassing, bad, ugly, sloppy win. The only reason I'm saying that is because I've gotten texts. I've had friends text me or message me. I've gone on social media seeing what Clemson fans are posting about the South Carolina win over Louisiana Tech, saying that's an embarrassing win. You should have lost the game, which I don't actually disagree with, but you should have lost the game. Just kind of really tearing into South Carolina. Meanwhile, y'all are messing around with Boston College, a 1-2 team, one of the worst teams in the country. I think Louisiana Tech plays Boston College. It's a tough game. It's a close game. Meanwhile, y'all are messing around with a 1-2 Boston College team as the defending national champions. You're in Death Valley. And people are looking at me like, oh, what are you talking about? We won 33-7. That was a great win. I don't want to hear that. You were messed around. With 5 minutes left in the game, it was 14-7. You were only up a touchdown for the longest time. It was a tied game until deep into the second half. So I don't want to hear all these Clemson fans saying, oh, South Carolina had an embarrassing win when y'all were messing around with Boston College. If you want, and somebody said, oh, that's what winning programs do. We put them away at the end. You want to know what a winning program does? Let's look at Alabama. Alabama was going into Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's 3-0. All these college game day pundits, which I think this is stupid, but they're all like, oh, they might compete. They're going to show the SEC that they're meant to be reckoned with. They're going to compete with Alabama. What does Alabama go and do? They go into Vanderbilt and they win 59-0. They don't even mess around. The game was over before it even started. So if you want to know what a winning program does, that's what a winning program does. Don't come at me and be like, oh, South Carolina had a bad win and they should have lost. Y'all were messing around with Boston College, who's 1-2. So that just kind of grind my gears. Clemson fans, I've always kind of held them at a standard of great fan base. I think knowledgeable, not a lot of ignorant fans. But when people are just messaging me, like, oh, this was you were messing around with 1-2 Boston College. So that's kind of where my stance is with that. But I appreciate everybody kind of voicing their opinions. I want to keep that up, and so please do message, post on the page, post on the website, and for this video, please do the same. So thanks for tuning in this week, and we'll be looking forward to week 5.